So how does this work? Am I looking at you?
Yeah, you're just looking right at me.
Okay.
All these things are just a little different, eh?
I've never done this. This is interesting insight into what you do. My name is Catherine. I'm 37. I am a wife and a mother of 3. I'm a helper, at the core of who I am. I love to help people. I was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia in 2016, and it's kind of taken over my life in a lot of ways. Trigeminal neuralgia is a pain disorder. So there are 3 branches along each side of your face that control your sensation of pain in that area. And what's happened for me is that the nerves are basically misfiring. So they are sensing when they should be sensing touch or the feeling of wind. Instead, they interpret it as pain. So someone might have type 1, where they get these sudden electrical shocks or feeling like stabbing pains in an area. It can happen on just one of the branches, 2 of them, all 3 of them. And that's like the kind of pain when they ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, that hits 10. It can last anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes long. And it increases in frequency over time. The second type is also on any of the branches, and it causes this deep aching feeling like in your bones, kind of. So I have both. I'm one of these. It's a rare condition already, and I'm the rarer of the experiences because I have both type 1 and type 2 on all 3 branches. There are many different treatments for it. But yeah, that's kind of a synopsis of what trigeminal neuralgia is. So a good day for me is I wake up and I do assess myself every morning, like, okay, where am I at right off the bat? And a good day, I'm waking up and it's like a 2 out of 10 on the pain scale, which means I could pretty much ignore it. It's like having an ache, a headache that's just there, but it's not overwhelming. Throughout the day, the more I talk, the more I do, generally speaking, the higher the pain goes. But a good day would mean I would never go higher than a 6 out of 10. It's like when I hit a 7, it's where I cannot ignore and I cannot function anymore. I can't do the things that I plan to do. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I can ignore. I can sit here and talk to you right now, and at the moment, from here to here is burning. And there's this little zapping that's happening kind of behind my ear and into my ear. And every once in a while along my jaw, But that's something I've adjusted to over time, and it's not overwhelming. I would say like right now I'm at like maybe a 4 or 5. On a bad day, I wake up and within about 5 minutes, I'm at a 3 or a 4. The burning starts to get to the point where like I really can't ignore it. It's getting overwhelming. And by like 9 o'clock, okay, I'm needing some extra medication. And then from there, I'm on a lot of medication. So I try to not overdo it too much because I do have to be available to pick up my kids if they need to be picked up from school. So I try to not take so much that I'm not able to drive. So then it's a whole day of doing as little as possible. So sitting on the couch here or up in my bed with my hot pad on my face. And I'm at a level 6, a little 7. I'm not able to cook dinner in the evenings. And I, again, increase my medication, and that leaves me in bed very early in the evening, and I usually try to take enough medication that it puts me to sleep as quickly as possible. So I have been on a myriad of different anticonvulsants. Currently, I'm on 3 of them. I've added a muscle relaxant in there because your muscles start to react to the nerve pain by tightening. So I also take a very strong muscle relaxant. In 2017, I asked my neurologist about cannabis oil because I'd heard it would be really good for nerve pain. So she referred me to a clinic that does that, and I have a medical prescription for medical cannabis. I had gamma knife radiation in 2017. By 2018, my meds were really failing, and so I was finally approved for microvascular decompression, which is a brain surgery that I don't really want to know the ins and outs of because I'm a little squeamish, but they go right in nice and deep, and they follow it along and put a Teflon barrier between the nerve and anything that's bothering it. I woke up from that surgery and I could move my eyebrow without it hurting. I could smile without it being painful. And obviously, it takes a while to recover from that kind of surgery, but my pain levels were so much more manageable, and I started decreasing my pain. Oral medication, and then 3 months later it started to come back, and by the 4-month mark I was having the electrical shocks again. So that's considered a failure. If it had lasted, the pain relief had lasted for a full year, then they might have considered doing another one, to see if maybe they missed a spot or it had shifted, but it kind of went off the table. So again, when my meds weren't cutting it, they did it's called a glycerol needle rhizotomy. So it's a needle that they put in here, and then they stick it to where your nerves are exiting the skull. So here and here. And it was a spectacular failure. Considering the pain I'm in, I don't think I've ever had a moment of being in more pain than I was when I woke up from that particular procedure. So it has left me with an area here. It's numb. It's this weird sensation of numbness, but also burning and aching and heavy at the same time. And there's nothing that is known at the moment that treats that other than nerve blocks. So I do also weekly go for nerve blocks, and I have them done all over the right side of my face, as well as a little bit behind my ear. And that gives me usually a couple of days of, it takes the edge off a little bit. Because nothing I was trying was working very well, my neurologist suggested that I try to see if I would be approved for lidocaine and ketamine infusions. So I looked into that, and I went to a special private pain clinic that was still funded through OHIP, and they approved me right away. There was no question. It was like, absolutely, let's try it. We'll see if it works. And within 4 weeks, I was having like significantly lower pain levels. So what, like that electrical shock I was talking about, I went from having probably 50 to 100 of them a week to having maybe 5 to 10. Like that's a crazy decrease for me. Not having those shocks that, sometimes drop me to my knees, was a huge relief. It allowed me to be much more present in my family, to gain back a much better quality of life. Unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, OHIP sent a message to the clinic and to inform them that they were immediately revoking funding for this treatment. So myself and all of the other people who come there, because nothing else has worked, are now required to pay out of pocket, which would total $39,000 a year. And that is it's such a huge figure for anybody, but for most of us who are on disability, that is just not even feasible. And unfortunately, we have not been able to get a response from OHIP or what many people are writing letters, trying to have that reevaluated. There are many different options that they could do to lower their costs, but also allow people to have a better quality of life. And so far, we have not heard anything in response. The last 5+ years have been an ongoing process of grief and loss. I think initially, both my husband and I were very much focused on, let's get back to where things were. There has to be something that will bring us back to the normal that we had before. There's just, it seems like the rug gets pulled out from under us frequently enough that we're almost bouncing back a little bit quicker, I think, when it happens. But it's been a very difficult process, and I know from my connections within chronic illness and the trigeminal neuralgia community online that is an experience that we all share, of trying to accept. But it's hard to let go of dreams. It is hard to not get to be the mom I wanted to. Like I said, I'm a helper. And I have been helped more than I can possibly describe. And I am so grateful for all the people in our lives that have supported us. Family and friends who have just stood by us from the get-go. It's really hard to not be able to help them back, It is really hard to not be able to give back the way that I've always wanted to. I think I have been staggered by what people are willing to do for me. I always knew I had an awesome family, and that I married into an awesome family. If I need anything, and I say it, I've got, 10 people minimum going, okay, I'm on it, I always knew that was there, but there's something that is staggering and humbling about being on the receiving end of that. Of seeing the very best in people and the compassion that people have. But yeah, there's this moment where you reach and you go, we're not going to make it unless we communicate well, unless we let other people help us, unless we tell people we need something, unless we tell each other that we need something from whoever in the family. I've just been staggered by, the need for communication and then the overwhelming generosity. When you share a story, when you open up and are vulnerable about your life and struggles, there's that links us to people. When you don't know someone's story, it's easy to make judgments or to make assumptions. But yeah, when someone's willing to be vulnerable and let people in, it brings together this sense of community. So I came across this quote yesterday that just really perfectly encapsulated my view on hope. It's by The Chronically Honest on Instagram, and she wrote, "It's so hard to balance trying to remain hopeful with trying not to get your hopes up too high due to the seemingly inevitable letdown." There are so many things that you lose when you're diagnosed with something like trigeminal neuralgia. But the things that keep me going and keep me hopeful are the relationships I have with my loved ones, and also knowing that there are so many people out there and organizations out there that are trying to find better treatments and better ways of helping the people who are suffering with trigeminal neuralgia.